Fools. Good afternoon. It is Monday, February 12th, and I am here with your geopolitical news. Right now, I'm on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, and I'm on Tucker Carlson's page. Tucker Carlson posts the Ukrainian government canceled elections and killed an American journalist. Congress is about send them another 60 billion. JD Vance is trying to stop it. I kind of got stuck right there because I believe this sentence is supposed to say Congress is about to sin, but it says Congress is about sin. But I'm about to play you a little bit of this video to give you guys some context to what Tucker is talking about, and then we'll give a reaction and we'll break some of this down.
Clear to anyone paying attention several months ago that Ukraine cannot win its war against Russia. The Ukrainian military will not be able, even with Western backing, hundreds of billions of dollars of it, to expel the Russian military from parts of eastern Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't have the industrial capacity, neither does NATO or the United States.
So the same thing that I've been saying, and I've been saying in so many different videos about the fact that Russia is completely destroying Ukraine. Ukraine absolutely, unequivocally cannot win this war. And so to prolong it is only to prolong, as the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, has already previously said, you're only prolonging the inevitable, quote unquote. And so it's like no matter how much money that is essentially coming from you and I, American taxpayers, and not just American taxpayers, but also the allied countries, taxpayers and citizens of those countries as well, are giving up whatever they're giving up as it relates to financial aid and military aid being sent to these countries abroad. So it's not just American citizens, it's all of the citizens of allied nations as well.
And it doesn't have the people. Russia has 100 million more in population than Ukraine does. And that means that further support from the West for the Ukrainian military only means more dead Ukrainians and a further degraded Western economy in the US and in Germany, particularly. So it's not.
And so more dead Ukrainians and further financial hardships in the United States of America because of the sanctions that were imposed, and the different things that's happening around the world. So as it relates to oil prices and just so many different things as it relates to the economy, and all of these things are coming back to haunt us.
Not simply a fool's errand, it's self-destruction. It's insane, it's cruel, it's abetting the killing of an entire generation of Ukrainians. This is very obvious. No honest person at this point will deny it. And yet somehow the United States Senate, which is always several years behind reality in its perception, just a few weeks ago decided to send another $60 billion to the Ukrainian government, which is.
So more aid is being sent to the Ukrainian government. So more military aid is being sent to the Ukrainian government. And in the previous segment that I said that America was abandoning its military aid position for Ukraine. And so when I say that, I don't mean completely abandoning. I mean, you see the number, you see the amount of military aid that's being sent. You see the number um being lower and lower and lower. From the start of the conflict um to we are presently, you can see the amount that's being sent has dramatically decreased.
Both corrupt and authoritarian. They've canceled elections, they banned an entire Christian denomination, and then they killed an American journalist for noting any of this. And yet, the United States Senate proposed under Mitch McConnell a plan to send another $60 billion to Ukraine. Well, imagine the surprise of all rational people around the world to wake up this morning and discover this could actually happen. And so with that in mind, we thought it'd be worth talking to one of the very few Republican senators who's bothered to make the counter case. And that would be J.D. Vance of Ohio, who joins us now from the United States. Senator, thanks.
So now he's about to interview a senator who I am absolutely unprivy to. I don't know who this guy is. I absolutely do not know what he's about to say. And you know, it's important that when we start to listen to these people, especially politicians, as it relates to the United States of America and policies, whether they are on the American soil or policies abroad, it's like you really have to do your research and your homework to see if who you are receiving information from is actually a truthful individual. Now, many of you may be consuming my content and maybe under the impression that I wholeheartedly believe in everything that I put up. And that's just unequivocally not true. I put up posts and I put up different pieces of information because that's what it is. It's information for us as the average citizen, for us as intellectuals and sound thinking bodies, for us to process and evaluate this information, and then for us to come to our own conclusions without somebody telling us what to think, or without somebody telling us that this is absolutely unequivocally 100% the truth. No, I am actually going to do the research. So I'm going to play a little bit of this commentary with Tucker Carlson and this individual who I absolutely do not know. And as I said, we'll continue from there.
Thanks so much for coming on. If you wouldn't mind telling us where this legislation is right now, what you expect to happen, and what you think should happen.
Yeah, Tucker, so there are two big things that will happen here. So tonight we will clear a major procedural vote, or we won't. So this is
Okay, so this individual's name is J.D. Vance. He's an Ohio senator, and I believe he's a Republican. You know, the R's right there. So, yes, he's a Republican. As I said, I'm going to let him speak, and then we'll continue from there.
This is really the best opportunity tonight to kill this legislation. Encourage everybody to do everything that they can, contact everyone they can to ensure that we actually do kill the legislation. It is very close. The Democrats have banded together with 17 Republicans. We only need 8 of those Republicans to flip their vote to kill this thing. And I think that we'll get at least one who will, in fact, flip their vote. So that's where it sits in the Senate. The second thing, and frankly, the best opportunity we have to kill this is in the House. And that's part of what I'm trying to do is notify people about how bad this legislation is so that after it clears the Senate, if it does, then it goes to the House and the House has a real opportunity to at least make it better, but hopefully kill it. And I want to say just a couple of things here, Tucker, that are extremely important to know about this legislation. Number one is that it sends $61 billion to Ukraine to fund, as you said, a hopeless war in Eastern Europe that will decimate the Ukrainian population even more than it's already been decimated. So it's a terrible, terrible piece of legislation on the policy. The second thing I want to say, Tucker, though, is that it doesn't just fund Ukraine in 2024. And this is the most important point. It actually funds Ukraine in 25 and 26. Now,
See, now, this is something that, as an American citizen, should absolutely outrage and appall you. So, you mean to tell me that for the next 2 to 3 years, my tax-paying dollars will be going to Ukraine in the form of financial aid, military aid, and whatever other aid that they need? And this is unequivocal. This is without you being able to say, you know what, I don't want my taxpayer dollars to go there. So the question becomes, what do we do? As a people, what do we do to stop these things from taking place when we very well do not agree with them? What do we do as it relates to the politicians? Because if these politicians are very well being put in positions of power by us because we voted for them, But yet, when it comes to policies as such, they will totally ignore the sentiment of you and I. So the sentiment of the American people does not matter. Only the sentiment inside of this small group of people called Congress is the sentiment that matters.
Now, what's the problem with that? Say, for example, that we have a new president in 2025. That president would be handcuffed by the promises that we are making in law to Ukraine today. If you go back to 2019, Tucker, to try to give you.
I find that interesting and intriguing because I know for absolute certain that a president like Donald Trump would absolutely find a way to repeal such a thing. So for you to say that a president, the president, in 2025 will be handcuffed or bound by those promises, well, I don't believe with a president like Trump, those boundaries would even exist because he is a very diabolical individual and very unpredictable.
A sense of why this matters. In 2019, the U.S. House impeached then President Donald Trump on the theory that they had appropriated money to Ukraine and Donald Trump refused to send it to Ukraine. So if Trump is elected president again and become president on January of 2025, he will conduct diplomacy. And if that diplomacy does not include sending additional billions to Ukraine, there is a theoretical argument, a predicate, if you will, for impeaching Donald Trump because they have tried to tie his hands. And the final point I'll make on this, Tucker, is that the Washington Post has already said, based on leaks from inside the intel community, the purpose of this legislation is to tie a future President Trump's hands. We're not just sending billions to Ukraine in 2024. We're trying to make it impossible for the next president to conduct diplomacy on his terms. It's anti-democratic, and it will lead to endless war all over the world.
And so there you have it. So this is a strategic move. The bill that they are trying to pass from this senator's knowledge and his understanding of such, this will bound a future president because we are promising not just aid now, but this aid package will promise aid in the future. So it ensures that Ukraine, President Zelensky, and the Ukrainian military government will be able to continue their military campaign inside of Ukraine. And sadly to say, to no avail, because we all know at the end of the day, as I said before, if Russia gets mad enough, well, there's a button that can be pushed that will end this whole conflict. There's a button that can be pushed that will end this whole conflict. And no matter how mad, upset, outraged, or anything the rest of the world feels, there will be nothing that can be done. The United States can pretend as if they will respond with the same aggression, but we all know that will lead us. So it's almost like having a stalemate. Because if you play chess, then you should be able to count moves ahead. I like to play chess. And so counting moves ahead was something that I learned early on. And you're able to strategically predict your enemy's movements when you count moves ahead. And you can run scenarios and be able to dictate exactly what your enemy is about to do just by counting moves ahead. So this conflict, I don't see any end in sight that will result in the victory of Ukraine. I hope that this ends before it gets worse. But it seems like because of the instigation of the United States of America, because they're totally instigating this conflict. Because as I said before, the United States military industrial complex, they have new weapon systems and all types of new weapons and gadgets and things that they would just love to test out. But because you have no direct conflict with anyone on planet Earth, you find ways to interject yourself into conflict. Then you can provide military aid. You know, you can teach these countries and people how to use these things and weapon systems, this, that, and the third. And you get to sit back and you get to watch and enjoy the show. It's very pathetic. It's very disgusting. But nonetheless, this is what you do. And this is the practice. And on and round we go. So I just wanted to bring this to you guys. This is just a piece of information that Tucker Carlson has brought to the internet. You guys can go follow Tucker Carlson on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter. He's also on YouTube. I just did a piece including Tucker Carlson and the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. That was an exclusive interview. And I did a reaction and a breakdown of everything that was being said up until a certain point. The video was more than 2 hours long. So if you guys want to go check that out, you can go to Tucker Carlson's page and you can see the full interview in its entirety. Remember to follow Street Icon on all social media platforms. That's Street Icon 8080 on YouTube platform, Street Icon 1 on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, and Street Icon on all other social media platforms. Drop a comment in the comment section and let me know how you feel about this. Congress is about to send another $60 billion to Ukraine. How does this make you feel? Drop a comment in the comment section and always remember, stay vigilant, stay safe, peace.